Yo, so today I'm going to be showing you guys how I make unique bouncy melodies for someone like Lil Baby or Lil Durk. Alright, so this melody is kind of almost like too unique in a sense. Like, I don't know, it's just like almost like a straight up bouncy ethnic melody, but I feel like it's something Lil Baby might want to get on. Alright, so the sound I started off with is this acoustic drops preset from Analog Labs, and it sounds crazy. It's like a mallet arpeggio almost. It just sounds overall, it's a great preset. But I played out this pattern, and I made this in a piano at first, but overall it's really simple. Just figured out some bass notes that overall sound like kind of dark, but then this was originally, I think, up to here, and I went ahead and put it down just so it like the melody resolves better, I guess you would call it, so it like flows more smoothly, and it's like a nice waveform, which I know some people talk about like striving for that in their melodies because it makes it more smooth overall. Then I went up and just figured out some like triplet notes, like I think in the song Man of My Word there's like a bunch of triplet chords, so I wanted to add that in there to kind of get that feeling. So I just did that on whatever notes sounded good with the bass notes. And then I just went up and added these chords, copied them over, and then messed with the middle note and put it down one just to give it that dark feeling. So I go ahead and switch to a piano sound. If you just move the middle note down one. So I tend to do that a lot with these type of melodies. And then also I took out the bass note of that chord for the last one just for some variation to make it feel a little bit like lighter, a little bit more empty. Finally, I went ahead and pitched up the root note to the top and just duplicated it over and over, and then just did this little triplet roll here. I just thought it sounded cool, and it's repetitive, but it's not too repetitive to where you get bored of it. It's like a nice catchy repetitiveness. So yeah, unfortunately, because I have the demo version of Analog Labs, I can't actually play like the pattern, so I have it rendered out here. So here's what that sounds like with that acoustic drops preset. That's overall just a great preset. I really like the way that turned out. And I forgot to mention, but the effects I put on it before rendering out was a little bit of reverb, cut the lows, and then an imager. And then I rendered it out a second time with halftime on it, and then ended up reversing that section. So then it sounds like this. Literally putting your stuff up an octave and reversing it is one of like the best ways to just quickly add like another sound or texture to your melody and make it sound really full and interesting. So yeah, that was overall a pretty simple like first melody. And then for the second melody, I went ahead and used the LA Custom C7 Rich Ballad. It's a pretty good piano. It has a little bit more like attack, so it kind of hits a little harder. But then I just copied that same pattern over, pitched it down an octave, and then removed the top notes, so it's just a little bit more simple. And this just overall just like sits in the background low end, just kind of fills up space. And then I also re-randomized the velocities just to kind of add some variation there and a little bit of like difference between the first melody and the second melody, which I tend to do a lot. Like each pattern, if I'm using the same MIDI, I'll go ahead and re-randomize the velocities just to make it a little bit different. But here's what this melody sounds like. Yeah, and then I forgot to mention, I just doubled up the chord so it hits twice as much as that mallet melody. But overall, very simple pattern. And then for the effects on that, I just went ahead and put an imager and then this EQ to kind of make it feel more low, cutting out the highs and then cutting out the lows where the 808 would be. And then just because, of course, I forgot to mention the other stuff I put on the mallets. On the non-reversed one, just put an imager and a low cut. And then on the reversed one, I went ahead and put old telephone EQ, a little bit of reverb, a shaper box preset that's like a side chain. So it looks like this, and overall just adds a little something else to that melody, makes it sound a little bit cooler. And then pancake on the bigger preset with the mix turned down to about 50%. Then for the next sound, which is the Vibey mallet from the Flowers Volume 1 kit. Again, I've said this a million times, this is one of my favorite mallets. But right here it just copies that same piano pattern with like the duplicated chords so they hit just a little bit more. And yeah, there's really nothing to explain here because it's just the same pattern. but here's what it sounds like. Very simple, just copies that same pattern again, but does add something nice to the melody. So just so far, here's like the bass sounds of the melody, those the mallet, the reverse mallet, the vibey mallet, and then the piano all together. Just overall, they combine really nicely and it sounds super full. And that reverse like texture thing really adds a lot to it. All right, so the next three sounds are pretty much all one shots from the Mellotron 5 kit. I don't know, I found it on Reddit, but this one's called No Strawberries. It's kind of like a flute, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. Here's the MIDI, and it just kind of accentuates that chord change here, and that's pretty much all it does. I really like to use one shots and slide notes for like little accent top lines. In my melodies, I've been doing that a lot recently. But yeah, there's really not much to explain, so I'll go ahead and play this. Just a nice little background sound in the melody. Then for the next one-shot sound, I grabbed the sitting bell. It's from, again, that Flowers kit that I really like to use. But then it just plays, and then here's the MIDI for it. It just does this little like repeating triplet kind of pattern here. And this is different from the pattern that's in the piano, mallets, all that. So it does like kind of bounce off each other and it doesn't really like sit on top of it. It's kind of its own thing. But this just kind of adds a little bit something nice to the end of the melody. Again, don't really know how to explain it, but it sounds pretty cool. So here this is. So yeah, just very simple, something I think I just added in the intro for the melody. And then for the final like melodic sound besides the bass, it's this, wow, I'm not going to try to say that, short piano voice, I think. It's again from that Mellotron kit I found on Reddit, but it's kind of like a string, flute, airy kind of thing. And this is really like the main top line for the melody. So here's the pattern, and it just plays this over and over again with this E as a little bit of variation. For the last one, so it doesn't get too boring. Again, with these like top line melodies, I really just click around till I find something I like. There's really no concrete method that I have to like get these sounding cool, but like you just kind of got to mess around till you find something you like. But yeah, here's what this sounds like. Very simple. And as you can see from all the one-shot patterns, they all kind of bounce off each other with the slide notes. So this one would slide here, and then it comes into like this kind of empty part for this melody. But then it would go into the first one I broke down, which would slide right here, be a little bit more calm here, slide again with this one, and then it would pick back up with a different sound for that little triplet ending stuff. So they all kind of like counteract each other and all kind of combine into something really nice. Alright, and then finally for the last sound, I used the Growler Moog bass, of course, one of my favorite basses from Omnisphere. And I went ahead and did this pattern, just copies the bass notes and then does a little triplet at the end to keep it interesting. These just like take a lot of like trial and error to get them sounding really good. But this one isn't like the best. I think I've had other melodies where I do like bass rolls that sound crazy. This one's just kind of average. And then again, I rendered that out just to stop the sound from messing up, because for whatever reason, sometimes the sound just changes on me when I'm using Omnisphere, so I always like to render it out. So here's what this sounds like. Alright, yeah, so that's pretty much it for the melody. Now we can go a quick breakdown on the mixing, on the stuff that I didn't touch on. So I think I did everything up to here. So on the vibey, I just put a little bit of reverb, pancake on the shy preset, but I altered it a little bit to be like sharp. And then on the No Strawberries flute, nothing. Synthy bell, I think it was, just a little bit of reverb, nothing on the third one shot. And then on the bass, just some distortion, and then this to make sure the distortion isn't too much and it kind of just keeps it as a low end bass. Yeah, and then finally I added the ambience just to make everything sound a little bit cuter at the beginning and the end, and then that little sweep up for where the drums would come in. And then I added this Western texture, I'm pretty sure it's called, yeah. And it's from Exotic Volume 2, that one shot kit, and it sounds like this. So it just adds a little bit of rhythm and sounds pretty cool. Then I went ahead and rendered that out and pitched it down 1. So now it's in C minor. Yeah, so overall, I really like the way this melody turned out. I've been having trouble making like the Lil Baby type melodies recently, but a lot of good ethnic melodies, so I decided to kind of combine them a little bit. But yeah, here's what the melody sounds like, and then we can get started on the drums. Alright, so it's about 3-ish days later since I filmed the breakdown for the melody, but what I realized is I just simply made it too busy. It sounds really cool, but there's just a little bit too much going on. I think I overdid it with the mallet layer, like not the acoustic drops, but the other mallet. It just kind of made it too busy, and I tried to put drums on it multiple times, but it's just really hard to fit like a good bounce into it when there's that much going on. So yeah, a little bit of a valuable lesson. I still think there's things you can learn from the melody, but drum portion, not so much. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and here's the final melody.